Welcome everybody. Item 1, announcements by the Mayor and Chief Executive. I would just like to thank you all for being here for this extraordinary meeting, for taking the time and effort to attend. I think it's a very important meeting. I think it's one where we can show our gratitude and acknowledgement for individuals within our borough who have gone above and beyond to achieve great things in their own right. And I think as we commemorate 50 years of Kirklees, that we were able to celebrate a positive achievement of individuals in our borough. There are many more besides them, but I think the nominations are good ones that we should support, and that hopefully will do great things going forward. So thank you. Announcements by the Chief Executive?
No, thanks.
No, thank you. Apologies for absence. Councillor Sokal.
Speak out Councillor Gwen Law, Councillor Elizabeth Reynolds, Councillor Will Sampson, Councillor Darren Donovan, Councillor Graham Turner, Councillor Masood Ahmed, Councillor Adam Yaman, Councillor Steve Hall, Councillor Carol Pattison, Councillor Mush Khan, Councillor Shabir Pandor, Councillor Amanda Pinnick, Councillor Matthew McLaughlin, Councillor James Homewood. Mr. Mayor, I'm expecting another 4 members to be here soon. Those are Councillor Tyler and Councillor Afaq, Butt, and Councillor Yusra Hussain and Councillor Mr. Pravez. I'm expecting them to be here soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sokal. Councillor Hall.
Apologies that I've forgotten my glasses, so this may be approximate. Apologies. Oh, thank you very much. Good grief, your eyes must be bad. Apologies from Councillors Smage, Thompson, Sheard, Holmes, Stephen, Lees Hamilton, Ali, Armour, Taylor, Smith, Banford, Bellamy, McGrath and McGuinn.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Munro.
I'd just like to give apologies, Mr. Mayor, for Councillor Kath Pinnock, who unfortunately cannot attend today, and Councillor Paola Davies is going to be late. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. Councillor Anwar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just apologies from Councillor Ibrahim Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anwar. Item 3, declarations of interest. Members who have any disclosable pecuniary interests which would prevent them from discussing or voting should disclose their interest now. Are there any interests to declare? Councillor Firth.
Got to declare, actually, Mr. Mayor, is in 2007, when I was Mayor, I supported the Epilepsy Action as one of my charities. So I've spoken with our legal people and they tell me I'm okay to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Firth. Before we move on to item 4, 5 and 6, the individual nominations are on there. I'd like to give the opportunity to the Leader of the Council to say a few words, and after that point I'd welcome any general comments on the individuals, be it the group or individually, who would wish to speak. We will then take items 4, 5 and 6, proposed, seconded, and move to the vote. So we'll take all the comments now after Councillor Scott.
Everyone, and thanks for giving your time for this extraordinary meeting. So we're meeting here to decide on bestowing the highest honour a council can give to 3 inspiring people. Awarding the freedom of the borough only happens on rare occasions, and it honours the figures who have made significant contributions to life in the communities or achieved something outstanding. The individuals that we are proposing to recognise with honorary Freeman status are Joan Gorton, Poet Laureate Simon Armitage, CBE, and the actor Sir Patrick Stewart, OBE. In April, Kirklees Council will be marking its 50th anniversary. And it's amazing to think that during that time, Mrs. Gorton, the co-founder of the local charity Epilepsy Action Huddersfield, has worked tirelessly, raising money for a charity and campaigning for a better resources and healthcare for those with the conditions and to support their families too. For many, you will already know the achievements of Simon Armitage, CBE, and Sir Patrick Stewart, OBE. They are both nationally and internationally recognised for their services to literature and performing arts and service to drama, acting, cinema, respectively. So I think you will join me in honouring these people today, and I think it should be a chamber full of good cheer today, because this is something amazing that was going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome any comments on all three together or individually. Any positive comments you'd like to make, you can do so now if you just press your button. Councillor Munro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to be here today with my fellow members to honour three exceptional people from our area for their individual and invaluable contributions to the borough, our nation, the world and the universe. While honorary freeman, as Councillor Scott has just said, is the highest honour to bestow on someone by an authority, it recognises their significant work and services they have brought, but sadly there are no perks. I believe it is right for the Council to be honouring them in this way in its 50th year, as each of their achievements are truly inspirational. Their greatness is exemplary and is something to which we should all aspire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. Councillor Bolt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And may I start by congratulating our nominees today on their selection for what has been acknowledged to be a rare honour. And nothing I say further on will take away from that. In starting, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pay tribute to the Council's own glorious threesome, Councillor Firth, Baroness Pinnock and Councillor Sokol, who between them have got 103 years of service for this Council. 31 years, 34 years I think for Councillor Pinnock and 35 years the father of the house for Councillor Sokol. I would hope that everybody would join me in recognising that great service. I don't think anybody else has achieved that length of service of over 30 years for the Council. That needs to be recognised as we look at other things. Mr. Mayor, when I told residents of Mirfield about the special meeting, some of my residents raised some comments and asked me to pass on them to the Council about the process for selection of the people, because there doesn't seem to be much pre-advertising about how we were seeking nominations and the clarity which led to this point. The criteria for bestowing the award, according to the 1972 Act, which gives the Borough Councils the award, are people of distinction and persons who have rendered eminent service to the borough. Those three undoubtedly do that, Mr. Mayor, and I'm sure if you had asked elected members or our community, the hall and the town hall would have been full of those from our communities who have served above and beyond for considerable time in marking this borough's 50th year. Those who have contributed to the economic, philanthropic or civic life of the borough. People of distinction, Mr. Mayor, may extend to serving or veteran personnel whose distinction may have come from long service or sacrifice. And here I reflect that some authorities have awarded the honour of freeman posthumously. Mr. Mayor, I am not averse to the principle of the freedom of the borough, and indeed, having had the subject raised with me, I've made several inquiries on this in the past. To mark the 40th year of this borough, this was raised, but I was told by the then Chief Executive that it didn't have political unanimity and couldn't go forward. As we honour the triple nominees today, Mr. Mayor, we can reflect on the previous 49 years that only 2 individuals have previously received the freedom of the borough. The first being Sir William Mayhew, who was honoured in January 1980, having served 34 years as a Huddersfield MP, which again is a phenomenal achievement. And worth reflecting, Mr Mayor, that his successor, Barry Shearman, this year has served 45 years continuously. And we should pay tribute to Barry for such a long service in public support, Mr Mayor. The other was Betty Boothroyd, whose achievements are well noted. As well as the glorious city of Besançon, which I had the pleasure of visiting when I was Deputy Mayor, which has been twinned with this borough for 70 years, Mr Mayor. This authority has honoured 3 army units in its 50 years, and many members will have seen them exercise their right to march through the town with bayonets fixed and colours flying, and we pay tribute to the service of everybody who has served in those units. I don't know, Mr Mayor, if our recipients today get to drive sheep over Cooper Bridge, practice archery on the high street, or, as in London, to carry a naked sword in public. Whatever their rights and privileges, Mr Mayor, I congratulate them on their preferment and wish them well.
Thank you, Councillor Bolt. Councillor Lawson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's with a sense of celebration that I rise to support the motions to grant Sir Patrick Stewart, Joan Gordon and Simon Armitage the freedom of our borough in perpetuity. It's fair to say the council is going through a difficult time right now, and we're on the cusp of a local election, and we know how those can be. So to have something like this to celebrate is a welcome counterpoint and worth a little bit of shouting about and a little bit of hot air from the likes of me. I'm particularly pleased that the practice of granting the freedom of the borough has found fresh legs, and I'm grateful to the Civic Office, Steve Mawson and our Mayor for finding the time and the energy to reinstate it, bringing it back into line with other authorities, just to echo your point, actually, Councillor Bolts. And I'd like to thank the leader as well for her enthusiastic support in pushing this through as well, pushing it forward. According to that bastion of truth, the internet, the original Honorary Freedom of the Boroughs Act 1885 afforded freedoms for certain tolls and permissions to vote in general elections. Since then, of course, general elections means general voting. I'm afraid I don't hold out much hope for freedom from tolls in modern councils. Sorry to our 3 victims. I mean Freeman. The quote that stood out was the line, "The council of every borough may form from time to time by authority of not less than 2/3 of their number present, voting at a meeting of the council specially called," for the purpose with notice of the object, admit to the ordinary freemen of the borough persons of distinction and any persons who have rendered eminent services to the borough. It's nice to know that that last bit was kept in the 72 rehash. So persons of distinction and any persons who have rendered eminent services to the borough. I think we can all agree that Sir Patrick, Joan and Simon more than adequately fit that bill. Sir Patrick and Simon's careers and achievements and their sometimes less well-known support for good causes mark them out as people who have always been proud of where they're from, great achievers, and despite where their successes have taken them, they've always been proud of where they're from, they've never forgotten it, and I know that in Yorkshire, that's a quality very much admired. Joan's achievement is probably less well known outside Kirklees, but in rendering eminent services to the borough for so long through her charity, Epilepsy Action Huddersfield, she is without doubt most certainly a person of distinction. In recognising Joan's achievements in this way, the council marks and celebrates the contribution of the third sector in Kirklees, something that I hope that will become a regular occurrence and something that we can all look forward to doing more of in the future. So congratulations to our new freemen and women. Thanks to all those involved in the organising. Thanks also to those in this chamber supporting today's motions. The Liberal Democrat group wholeheartedly votes for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Councillor Cooper.
More than happy to support all these nominations. In terms of Sir Patrick Stewart, who could forget his performances as Professor X in X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Days of Future Past. Really classic films, I think we can all say. And my personal favourite, Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek First Contact, where he took on a robotic collective, something I'm always keen to do. But the one I remember was back in the 70s when he played Sejanus in I, Claudius in the 70s. And He played the Roman emperor's chief fixer, a calculating manipulator obsessed with power. Something we've never come across in this chamber. Joan Gorton, not as high a profile as the other characters, not as high a public profile, but in many ways she represents many of the people we know in our own communities who work selflessly for good causes. And so I think, in many ways, by giving her this honour, we're actually recognising many people who work in our area. And Simon Armitage, whose words have literally been hewn into the rock in the landscape in our own area, a true matter of pride that he is our Poet Laureate. So for all three of them, make it so.
Thank you all for your comments. I agree with all of the comments that have been made. I think it's a really important thing that we're doing. Some of the comments regarding procedural and what's happened in the past we can't change, but we can certainly look to the future and do the best that we can moving forward. The idea from my point of view was to be able to commemorate Kirklees at 50, and we could have come up with any names from our own communities of people who were, could receive and be awarded these honours. I put forward 3 names, and I wanted that to highlight and reflect Kirklees. And as has been said, some of them are well known than others. And Joan Gort in particular is a volunteer that we have many of in our communities, and she represents our volunteers and the great work the volunteers do in Kirklees. And a lot of them go unnoticed, don't ask for anything, don't want anything, but they set things up, they volunteer, and they get on with it. So I'd like to thank you all for your support with that. We'll move on to item 4, Borough of Kirklees, Certificate of Freedom, Sir Patrick Stewart, OBE. Councillor Scott.
That by virtue of the power vested in it by Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1972, that Sir Patrick Stewart, OBE, be admitted in perpetuity as the honorary freeman of the Borough of Kirklees in recognition for his service to the drama, acting and cinema.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Is that seconded? Councillor Lawson.
Second and reserve the right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll move to the vote. All those in favour, show of hands. Against? Abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. Item 5, Borough of Kirklees, Certificate of Freedom, Joan Gorton. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that by virtue of the power vested in it by Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1972, Joan Gorton be admitted in perpetuity to the honorary freeman of the Borough of Kirklees in recognition for her tireless volunteering work on epilepsy action in Huddersfield for more than 50 years, campaigning to support and raise awareness for those with the condition.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Is that seconded?
Thank you, Mayor. Seconded. Reserve the right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the vote. All those in favour, show of hands. And abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. Item 6, Borough of Kirklees, Certificate of Freedom, Simon Armitage. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that by virtue of the power vested in Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1972, that Simon Armitage be admitted in perpetuity to the honorary freeman of the Borough of Kirklees in recognition for his service to literature and the performing arts.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Is that seconded? Councillor Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. Seconded. Reserve the right. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the vote. All those in favour by show of hands. Those against? Abstentions? Thank you, that is carried. Thank you all very much for your support and acknowledgement of these individuals and for the efforts they've made in doing the best they can for Kirklees. For the last time from me, thank you very much for your attendance and have a safe journey home. Thank you.